Welcome, everyone. The meeting's just about to start. We've just moved everything online to our live broadcast on YouTube. And today we will have a returning chair, Mayor Law.
Okay, it's 4:30. We'll call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the District of Tofino operates within the territory of the Tla-o-qui-aht First Nation, Tla-o-qui-aht and notice to attendees that the meeting is being video recorded and will be published on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. And I'll move that pursuant to Section 15 of the District of Tofino Meeting Procedure Bylaw number 1229, 2016 as amended, the June 2022 regular meeting be held electronically via Zoom and live broadcasted on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel, and that the facility provided for the public to watch and hear the meeting be located at Municipal Hall 121 3rd Street in Tofino, BC. By unanimous consent, I'll move that if there's no objection. Seeing none, motion is carried. And by unanimous consent, I'll move that the June 2022 Committee of the Whole agenda be adopted. No objection to the agenda as presented. That is carried. And by unanimous consent, I recommend that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held May 16th, 2022 be adopted. If there is no objection, that motion is carried. Do we have a public comment on agenda items, Ms. Best?
Thank you, Mayor Law. We do have a member of the public present, so I'm just going to like to give that opportunity to that member. If you would like to speak and ask a comment to council on any agenda item here today, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So I'll just hold here and pause for a moment so you may select that if that's an option that you're looking for. And I'll call a second time. And seeing no submissions, we do not have any requests.
Okay, I see no delegations and nothing under correspondence. So we'll move right into presentations and reports. 8.1, we have an invited presentation, Sergeant Colin Douglas of the RCMP regarding a summer update. Sergeant Douglas.
Okay, Mr. Douglas, or Sergeant Douglas, we've just made you a panelist. I'm appointing you to panelist so you may share your screen. So we'll just get you over there.
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you. Can you hear me?
Perfect, yep. I'm putting myself on mute for you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for having me down this afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm very much grateful to come down and chat with the leadership in Tofino. So I do have a brief presentation. I've got about 10 slides on a PowerPoint. Just a bit of a summer update, some of our detachment priorities moving forward into the year, as well as just some stats and some crime statistics to cover on as well. And also I'll be touching on some of our resourcing as we move into the summer and into next year as well. So unless there's any other immediate concerns or questions, I will try and get my presentation pulled up here.
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, so first and foremost, we'll just move forward. We'll touch on some of the current membership of the Tofino and House It detachment. Now, Tofino detachment is the main office, with the House It detachment being a satellite office of Tofino. So myself as the detachment commander, we have Corporal Greg Young, who's operations in charge in Tofino. Corporal Mike Quayle, who's joining us hopefully in July. He'll be running the operations in House It. And then some familiar names and faces here: Daniel McIntosh, Tofino; Dave Cernak, Tofino; David DeMontper, Tofino; and Constable Alex Baquet-Fortin, who's also in Tofino. Constable Corey Purvis in House It, Marshal Slarks in House It, and Constable Mike Fleming, who just joined us in House It from Kamloops. Now, Constable Cernak, he's been here for 4 years. He will be transferring in around September, perhaps August, September of this year. So he will be leaving us, and we'll have a new face replacing him shortly. Just moving on to our support staff. Longtime Tofino resident, Rosemary Tranfield. She's our detachment services manager. Alabama Chevrier, a public service employee and clerk. Tremendous young lady, and she'll be departing here in a few weeks to join you guys across the street here. So nothing but great things to say about Alabama. Wonderful young lady, and she'll do extremely well here. So super happy for her. We have Stephanie Hughes, who we've just hired as a PSC. Molly Law and Victim Services. Camilla Thurgood, our head guard. Young Johnny Christensen, he's guarding and admin in Tofino. And Asia Young, guard, admin, and cleaning in Tofino. Ted Whitmore, same thing, guard, admin, and cleaning in House It. And then we have Bill Dennis, he is our guard in House It as well. So one thing I'll just touch on is we are quite fortunate here in Tofino and House It. We are 100% staffed, and many of the detachments in BC and Vancouver Island are running short. The average is about 15 to 20% shortages for frontline RCMP members. And that's just due to a variety of reasons, including illness, injury, just vacancies that can't be filled. We have a bit of a lull in our recruiting right now in Regina, and as well as maternity and paternity leaves, etc. So we are very fortunate here that we are fully staffed right now at this time. Okay, so moving on from that, we're just going to touch on some of our RCMP detachment and community priorities right now. Again, this is not everyone, but certainly the highlights. So I only have about 10 minutes here to chat. So first we'll get into is our enhanced road and marine safety. Now the first point I'll touch on is for about the last year or so, we've brought in the BC Highway Patrol team. They come in for about one weekend per month, and they just help us with traffic safety, particularly on the highway between Ucluelet and Tofino. And they're targeting impaired drivers, prohibited drivers, and dangerous driving. So I learned quite quickly upon my arrival close to a year ago now that that is certainly a unique stretch of highway. It has its challenges, and it's not the most safe. So that team was brought in just to help enhance public safety on the road, not to create a police state by any means, but more so just to supplement our current resources for traffic enforcement and to give us a hand. Last year in 2021, they took 123 impaired drivers off the road, which is fairly substantial. That is a lot. And just we brought them in this last weekend again, and they took 9 impaired drivers off the road. So due to their efforts, I'm pretty confident that he prevented some accidents and injury and even perhaps loss of life. So we're happy with the efforts there, and we hope to continue with that initiative. And just to reiterate, that is a provincial initiative. So a business case was put in, and that's being funded by the province. So as long as we're getting good results and the community and the public is happy with that, we hope to continue that as well. Moving forward, our West Coast Marine section, they're a dedicated Marine unit, which works on the west coast of Canada and British Columbia. And they're a tough unit to get committed because they're often deployed to various incidents in the province, even in the interior lakes and rivers, but also on the west coast oceans as well. We're open to bring them in for one weekend this summer. They've committed for a weekend with a verbal agreement. I don't know the exact date yet, but again, we're hoping they can come in and give us a hand with some of the issues we're seeing in the marina and the harbors as well. Just with some of the boating speeds, reckless boating, and impaired boating as well. Further to that, I just submitted a business case which was approved for $10,000 in funding from the province, and we're hoping to get 2 weekends of dedicated marine enforcement out in the Tla-o-qui-aht Sound. Again, we're doing boat safety checks with that funding, impaired boating checks, and so on. So that funding, we hope to allot it towards 2 members on our RCMP vessel here, and we'll have to bring them in from out of town. So again, we'll have to look at their hotel costs, meal costs, and then the overtime for their wages as well. So we're hoping to get two to 3 weekends out of that funding as well. But it should really help curb some of the issues that we're seeing in the marina. And further to that, when we have time, in summer we're pretty hopping and jumping from call to call, but our own members will be on the water as much as we can, and on the highways conducting enforcement. Okay, moving on to the next priority here, we're going to touch on quickly. Again, as a detachment and as a province, we're going to help bolster our initiatives with reconciliation with our local Indigenous communities. We certainly have a handful of these communities in the area, and we're going to do our best to attend and participate in many of their ceremonies and cultural events, bring in some training for our members, and as well engage in the community as much as we can and as resources allow. Now, we routinely get called for service into these communities, and oftentimes it's not always the best circumstances we arrive. So we're hoping to make more of a proactive effort to spend time in these communities, destigmatize and build the relationships with the youth and a lot of the locals. So moving on. Of course, our employee wellness. I'll touch on this really quick, of course. Access to medical and psychological resources is important. We support a respectful workplace. During member shifts, we have dedicated fitness periods for our personnel to maintain their health and fitness. Peer-to-peer counseling and debriefing, and of course, their unfettered time off and holiday time. Often as a policeman in a small town, it's pretty tough to get your unfettered time off. You often have people knocking at your door. Your cell phone is ringing and you're getting called out. But we truly are making efforts to give our frontline members some unfettered time to recoup on their days off. Okay. And of course, what should be the primary goal of every and any police force is crime reduction and community safety. So the other pieces we touched on there, as far as traffic safety, reconciliation, community and youth engagement, traffic enforcement, catching bad guys, they all contribute to this initiative. But our goal is certainly to get crime rates down and enhance the safety of the community. So we're looking at enforcing and bringing in education around substance abuse, and not just strictly sending people to jail and cracking down and locking people up, but using a holistic approach such as rehabilitation, education, and prevention as well. And once we get into our crime stats a little bit, we'll see kind of how these efforts are helping out. As we get into school next fall, we're looking to bring back the school liaison officer program. As COVID now the restrictions are lifting and lightening up, we're looking forward to returning to the schools. And again, being much more involved in the coaching and the leadership with our youth. We're going to talk a little bit about the Safe School program. It's a reality in this day and age, not so much in Canada, of course, but as we see in the news around the world, that critical incidents do happen in school. So it is certainly good to be prepared and have a plan in place for a worst case scenario. So as we move into school next fall, we'll be meeting with teachers and the school principals and so on, and discussing the Safe School programs. Okay, so getting close to almost through my time here. We're just going to touch on some of the numbers that we have.
Sergeant Douglas,
Yeah.
council has the ability to extend your time, and
Okay.
I'm thoroughly enjoying this myself. So don't feel pressured.
Okay, very
But,
good then.
when we get to 50 minutes, I'll look to council and we can do an extension, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. So calls for service. Let's let everybody have a look there and kind of the breakdown of the legend. But throughout the rest of the presentation here, the year 2019 will be green, yellow 2020, gray 2021, and it's a little skewed there, but year to date 2022 will be in blue. So we are trending down a little bit. It could be attributed to COVID as well, with people staying home and not perhaps as much tourism coming in that we typically saw. But calls for service to the police are slightly down. But with summer here, we'll pick up a little more. And we anticipate finishing, maybe around that 2,300, 2,400, 2,500 mark, so in there. So the crimes against persons, this one here is pretty interesting. 2019, 2020 are pretty consistent with the assaults, around 127 for 2019, 2020. And then it trended down significantly in 2021. And we're trending down even a little further in 2022. And again, we can attribute that to using that holistic approach where we're not just locking up our prolific offenders, but we're also using our other community services, the mental health programs, and the province and so on to help rehabilitate some of these individuals so they don't continue to reoffend. And again, so the assaults are down. Uttering threats, as you can see there, we're fairly consistent there. And again, sexual assaults, pretty consistent there through the last 3-4 years as well. But I was happy to see that our assaults came way down last year, and they're trending in the same direction as well for this year. And again, property crime as well there, break and enter, theft, and mischief. Mischief can be defined as damage to property, vandalism, broken windows, graffiti, that kind of thing. So again, through 2019 down to 2022, we're trending down in most areas. A significant drop in 2021 for the break and enters and mischiefs as well. And again, when an individual arrives in town, we do see some transient individuals coming through Tofino, especially in the summertime and the good weather. In some cases, they do bring their problems with them and their issues. And those involved in crime sometimes have other issues going on, such as mental health and addiction issues. So we can bring in our community partners and utilize that approach. We can get these people the right help. And do our best for them not to reoffend. Okay. So moving forward to collisions, pretty consistent in this area. 2019, we had 74, then down to 57, then up to 68 in 2021. And we're sitting at 31 about halfway through the year now. But again, we are going to pick up a bit in summer. I was hoping that this number would have been a bit down since we had the BC Highway Patrol in last year, but that wasn't the case. I can say it doesn't show on this chart, but injury collisions are down on the highway as a result. But again, I couldn't break it down on the chart here. Okay. I'm moving forward. Some of the initiatives we'll be looking at bringing in here over the next year or so to the fall and Christmas season. We have a reservist joining us next week, Pat Riley. He worked with us last summer, and he'll be supporting the Bylaw program. in town. Pat was very effective last year, and we felt he was a good fit in the community with the bylaw officers, doing his enforcement work on the beaches and through the town. He had a very good presence. He was engaging, and he had a lot of positive engagement as well. And he was an excellent fit. So we brought him back in. He's starting next week. Now, in speaking with the local RCMP members and some of the community members, we've received pretty positive feedback with having reservists in town. Again, it's that proactive work. It's getting out there on the beaches and in the community, and often dealing with and mitigating problems in their infancy before they can snowball and become significant issues. So we hope to continue with that initiative. And that said, due to some staffing challenges in the RCMP right now, with many vacancies and shortages on the front line, it is quite challenging to get reservists at this time. So there is a fair amount of funding for this initiative. However, we could only fill the one position this summer. I know that there was funding for 2, I believe, or 1.5, that kind of thing. But so far, we just have Pat Riley committed to the program this summer. So he'll be with us until September long weekend. We're hoping the staffing changes for next year, and we have, our ranks are a little bit more bolstered, but we were quite lucky to get Pat this year. So. And we're bringing back a seasonal bicycle patrol. So this summer, you should see our members on mountain bikes routinely through the community, dealing with some of the issues we see at the docks, some of the alcohol consumption, helping with some of the nuisance calls, that kind of thing, as well on the MUP and on the beaches and in the parking lots, dealing with some of the drinking, the Liquor Act offenses and things of that nature. So hopefully here in the next 2 weeks or so, we'll have them rolling out and spending a good portion of their shifts in the community on their mountain bikes. Again, I touched on this already briefly. Re-engaging with the schools with COVID scaling back, bringing back our DARE program. Coaching, we have some members in the detachment have some good skill sets. We have a national weightlifter who's on the Canadian powerlifting team, Greg Young. It would be nice to get a weightlifting program going in the schools, or a powerlifting program, Greg. And also, again, we touched on the Safe School program there. In the fall, once we get through summer, I'm thinking October, possibly November, we want to have a community engagement and consultation evening. Now, it's very nice to come down and speak to the leadership of Tofino and the district. But we'd also like to hear from the community. So whether we have it at a school gym or the community center, we'd like to have somewhat of an organized, structured, respectful, open mic night, and with structured questions that we'll receive ahead of time. And we'd like to hear from the community what we're doing well and how can we improve. I do get the odd call from time to time from community members on what we can do better. But I think a formal evening, whether it's in person or online here, would be appropriate. We can hear back from the community as to what they would perhaps like to see from us and what they would like to see for initiatives from their police force. We're also looking at putting a business case in for additional First Nations policing resources, primarily manpower, another member or two that would be dedicated to policing the Tla-o-qui-aht communities. Similar to what we have in a House-it, we have 2 provincially funded positions and 2 federally funded positions in a House-it, and we'd like a similar model for Tofino, where we maintain our 6 provincially funded members here in Tofino and get another 1 or 2 federally funded positions that can help serve in the Indigenous communities as well. So that would help free up resources in Tofino to take on some more proactive initiatives. And that is it for my slides. Again, a quick highlight and a snapshot there. Oops. Did I lose my screen?
Your screen is gone. Did you want it gone?
I think stand by. Okay. You know what? That was it for my slides. It was just my questions. So.
There you go. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Sergeant Douglas.
Sorry, I know that was kind of a lot to take in, or a lot to go through in a brief period. Sorry.
Oh, I very much appreciate the update. It's very helpful, and I have a couple comments, but I'm going to turn it over to council for questions and comments for Sergeant Douglas. And I see Councillor Steer, and then Councillor Thick, and then Councillor Anderson. I believe your mute's on there. Boy, it's like it's like our first time here on Zoom.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm pushing everything, and I thought I pushed it. Thank you, Mayor Law. And thank you, Sergeant Douglas. Really appreciate the report, and it's been great to reconnect with the local RCMP detachment. Just a few comments, and I find it's really positive to see in many ways that those trends have been moving in the right direction in terms of overall rates of crime, and whether that is pandemic or not, it's still nice to see those trends moving in the direction that we'd like to see. And so there were a few things within the report that I'd just like to quickly comment on. And the first one was with in the initial BC Highway Patrol report, having those enforcement officers coming up at once a month. And you were talking about that provincial funding that would be supporting that. And as a councillor, I am highly supportive of that. And if there's any way of having that budget increase to provide even further, that presence goes a long way. I will admit I was somewhat shocked at the number of impaired over the last time frame at 123. That was much higher than I was expecting, and then 9 over the last weekend. I still find those numbers unacceptable within the community, and if there are ways that we can help support in doing that, I think the District of Tofino has been working on that. So that is definitely support in that area. That presence is critically important. And then the Marine Patrol, I do work with a federal agency that supports safety on the water. And so that presence, once again, is critically important. And you had indicated some of the areas that they might be focusing on is the impaired boating. And I can tell you directly, at least over 50% of my calls are directly related to alcohol on the water. So that, as a statistic, is something that we don't have the ability to enforce, of course, but it is a critical issue on the water for safety in our community. And of course, just that presence there is important. And then third and last is once again that community, the school liaison officer. A really important and critical component, and historically has been an important part. And I'm hoping that Officer Young will be able to get that program going and engage some of the youth in there, because it has proven to be a great connection, that engagement with the community, especially at that school level. Both the high school, of course, the CORRESPONDENCE detachment, but certainly here even at the Wickeninish Elementary. So I thank you for your time, and appreciate everything that's going on at the local detachment.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm happy to hear that the BC Highway Patrol has been noticed and is making a difference, and the feedback is well received. So thank you for that.
Councillor Thick, quick question, comment for.
I just wanted to say, echo those same comments, appreciative of especially the highway and marine patrols. I think this is excellent. And I think, as you said, it takes the pressure off local RCMP and their reputation here. And I just was also thankful to hear about this part-time reservist, because, as you know, the council before this was very proactive, I think, in trying to get this started. So I'm very happy to hear that it's going this summer. The same person is coming back, and I hope there's a good relationship between the district and the reservists. So just want to say thank you. And the last question I had was just if you could just boil our issues in Tofino to 3 main things. I've got the whole picture, but could you give us a snapshot of three things that are really important issues. And then along with some of the things that we're thinking about and discussing and trying to do, how, then we can start to think about how that dovetails in with our priorities as well.
Absolutely. So certainly one of the issues we see is substance abuse, and that kind of coupled with mental health take a lot of our members' time and energy and take a lot of our resources off the road dealing with those two things specifically. I know there's been talk of a sobering center in town, and I know that's in the works, and that would be tremendous if and when that comes into place. And if there's any support you need from the RCMP as far as statistics, the time we allot to dealing with some of these individuals who suffer with substance abuse, I'd be happy to provide that. And then again, coupled with the mental health, there's a great team in Tofino here as well. And a lot of the crime that we do face, even some of the vandalism, thefts, impaired driving, a lot of that boils down to, and the common denominator is mental health as well. So that could definitely be identified as an issue. And then our time we spend on the highway dealing with collisions as well. And again, just some of the twisties and turns on that highway. It's for some, it's a tough road to navigate when you're sober and it's light out and it's dry. But when you throw in a dark night and heavy rain, we do end up with some collisions and some injuries on that highway as well. And then lastly, I'd have to say probably just the influx of tourism in the summer as well. It's 2 months of hair straight back for us that still have a bit of hair left. We're getting called out at all hours of the night dealing with some of these issues. I can say that the reservists and the Bylaw team working together helps mitigate some of those as well. But that said, just the sheer volume of people that come to the West Coast presents a challenge.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I know at many meetings that councillors have been at, we have spoken about this and spoken about the heavy workload that you and your fellow RCMP people, are under. Could you be just a little, is there some one or two specific points under the tourism component that you could delineate for us? And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
So I guess, I don't know if you want to call it tourism or trespassing or illegal camping. Some of the camping up in the logging roads areas, we've seen some issues with that, just not just nuisance and bylaw and noise, but environmental concerns we see there. Some of the dumping, the damage to the ecosystems out there is pretty significant when we get called up in those areas, and some of the areas, and we know that the garbage that's left behind. And again, it's tough. Some people, they want to come to the West Coast to enjoy the summer, but the campgrounds are full and they're expensive. And I know it's a tough Rubik's Cube of a problem. So a lot of them, they end up in the logging roads or kind of street camping and that kind of thing. So that's certainly an issue that we see. And again, some of the Airbnbs that we have in town, there's a lot of them. And just the noise that comes in, the associated drinking and the alcohol and that kind of thing as well. So, Airbnbs, I've owned them before in the past, and they're a great little business, and I encourage them. But we certainly see a little bit of fallout from them, and that's not necessarily unique to Tofino either. So that they certainly keep our hands full.
Thank you. I certainly look forward to helping you mitigate some of those issues you've raised. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to Councillor Anderson.
Thank you for your report. I've seen a lot of RCMP reports, and I really appreciate this one. showing some of your direction and the issues that you've identified. And so often our reports in the past to council have been mainly statistical and sometimes just recent, showing it just 1 year snapshot kind of thing. So I really appreciate your reporting. It shows the trends and not just the statistics. It gives us some idea of your overall direction. My only question, I'm just curious if RCMP are very burdened with problems around homelessness.
No, so homelessness, prior to here, I was posted in Duncan and the North Cowichan in the Valley. That I would consider a homeless problem, where people were camping in the streets and setting up tent cities, and it was pretty awful as far as the scene, just the drug use, the homeless scene, things of that nature. And in Tofino, I wouldn't consider it a homeless. I haven't really seen any true homeless people here, I don't think, in Tofino. The odd one, a bit of bush camping here and there, but that's quite rare. Again, it mainly boils down to some people leaving in their car, but they're functioning, they have money, they have a means to take care of themselves and purchase groceries and that kind of thing. Whereas true homeless, like we see in the downtown east side or in a lot of areas popping up now on the east coast of Vancouver Island, I consider that to be an issue or a pandemic and a certain problem. Whereas here on the west coast, we haven't seen much of that yet. So our members in town here, I say no, that's not a significant concern. I consider the street camping and some of the illegal camping a bit of a different issue than a true homeless problem, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you. And I'm really glad to hear that we're fully staffed. That hasn't always been the case. So anything we can do from the council end to try to keep it that way, I'd be glad to help out there. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to jump in here. We do have a time limit, council, for this evening due to use of the theater. So if there's nothing new for Sergeant Douglas, I will finish off. Seeing nothing, I just want to thank you so much, Sergeant Douglas. This is a great presentation. I'm glad of the Highway Patrol and Marine Patrol, the Safe School program. All of those things are fantastic, and thanks for your hard work. And thanks to all your team members. And if there's anything you need from us politically in your efforts to secure further funding for FN policing or anything like that, please let us know. And we'd be happy as a council to discuss it and to do what we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just one last thing, if any further questions or concerns that didn't get addressed here today, please come see me at the police officer, give me a call or an email, and I'll try and answer to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Super. Thanks so much. Okay, council, we're on a little bit of time crunch here, so we've got two presentations left. I think we can get through them, but just note that we do have to have the meeting finished by 6:15. 8.2, we have proposed wildlife attractant bylaw. Chief Baker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the wildlife attractant bylaw. I'm just going to take a quick moment here, share my screen. Okay, we should have wildlife attractant bylaw up on the main page here. Fantastic. Okay, so like we said, wildlife attractant bylaw. So as we discussed at the May 16th Committee of the Whole meeting, the District of Tofino wildlife attractant bylaw will clearly define what the wildlife attractants are and help to manage those attractants within our community. Staff do remain optimistic that the bylaw, in conjunction with education and enforcement, can create enough awareness for managing attractants properly and decrease the number of human-wildlife interactions on the coast. Some of the key points from the last meeting, because we did just briefly introduce the concepts to council, we're looking at outlining the appropriate treatment of refuse, outline acceptable refuse containers and enclosures for both household and commercial, set parameters for curb placement and removal of containers, outline requirements for managing other non-refuse related attractants, and provide clear enforcement tools that are not currently covered under the District of Tofino Garbage and Recycling Bylaw. So just to go a bit more in depth into what each of those will mean and what it might look like, starting with treatment of refuse. In general, except as permitted in the bylaw, a person must not cause or allow any refuse that is wildlife attractant to be stored, deposited, or placed on any parcel or highway within the district in such a manner that it's accessible to wildlife. So I've thrown the first photograph in here because this is one that we see regularly. This is just an example of somebody's current refuse bins 36 hours after the pickup has been completed, still out on the curb, some of them still partially filled with garbage. So acceptable refuse containers and enclosures. A person must not store, deposit, or place outdoors any refuse that is a wildlife attractant except in a wildlife resistant container provided by the collection contractor. We seem to still be on track for delivery of the containers to the West Coast in September, October, with program implementation in November. In a commercial refuse container that meets the criteria established in Schedule A. So when the bylaw does come forward, it will have clearly defined parameters in Schedule A as to what one of those larger metal dumpster style bins, or even the metal style ones that you might see outside businesses and those sorts of things would look like. In a container enclosed within a wildlife resistant enclosure that is designed and constructed in accordance with the criteria established in Schedule A as well. So for those buildings or properties such as strata units, larger than 4 single family dwelling unit type buildings, where you may not have individual garbage collection, there will be obviously need, like there is currently, for garbage enclosures, and there will be some guidelines as to how those must be constructed and maintained as well. And in all metal grease collection bin with a secured metal lid when pertaining to cooking fats, grease, refuse, or enclosed by electric fencing, designed and maintained in accordance with the electric fencing guidelines of the Wild Safe BC program. Any person responsible for a site that is used for a special event, filming, a catered event, or a construction site must also ensure that any wildlife attractant is disposed of in a designated wildlife resistant container, refuse container, wildlife or resistant enclosure. So again, if you're coming to town, hosting an event, you still have to follow the same guidelines as everybody else. So curb placement and removal of containers. This is a fairly consistent issue around our community. Every owner or occupier of real property must ensure that a wildlife resistant container provided by the collection contractor be set out for collection only on the designated day of collection between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. So when we look at 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., that is to ensure that it's not getting put out too early, but also out by 8 a.m. so that it doesn't miss the collection vehicle as it's coming by. Unlocked only on the designated day of collection between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. So if it is a locking, say dumpster, that sort of thing, then it does need to be unlocked, but only on those particular days for collection of those units between those timelines. Removed from the collection location by 10 p.m. on the designated day of collection. Again, the photograph on this page, same property 1 week later from the previous one, and this photo was taken 48 hours after the collection had been completed. Again, some of those cans still filled with refuse not picked up. They must be kept locked at all times, except as described in the applicable sections, where it references being unlocked on the day of collection between 6 and 10, except when taken out to the street for pickup, kept secured in such a way that wildlife cannot drag or move the container from its intended location. So if it is being stored outdoors with the new systems that will be provided, They will be able to be locked in place where they're weighted, which does not give the bear or other wildlife the opportunity to drag it away to a different location where it has all day to work on getting it open. Every owner or occupier of real property must ensure that a wildlife-resistant container, a commercial refuse container, or a wildlife-resistant enclosure located on a property is of a size that is suitable for the amount of refuse generated and is kept and maintained in a closed locked manner when refuse is not being deposited or emptied, and in good workable condition. So we've all seen the houses around town where there is one garbage can out of the street and then 2 or 3 additional bags sitting beside it along the curb. Not considered acceptable. It's now more formally into the bylaw with fines associated for not having the right size container for what your property is producing. So managing other non-related or non-refuse related attractants. A person must not feed domestic animals or wildlife in a manner that is likely to attract dangerous wildlife. So I use the image on the right here with the raccoons around the pet food bowl because there are folks that do leave food outside for the pets all day long. And animal or domesticated pet food is just as much of an attractant as many other things. Every owner or occupier of real property must ensure that any fruit or nuts from a tree, bush, or shrub is maintained and stored in such a manner so as not to attract wildlife. Any bird feeder containing bird feed, suet, or nectar is suspended on a cable or other device in such a manner that it is inaccessible to wildlife other than birds. The area below any bird feeder device is actively kept free of accumulations of seeds and similar wildlife attractants. No person shall feed or provide access to food for songbirds between April and November, exempting liquid feeders. And any composting activity is properly carried out, and any composting device or equipment is maintained in such a manner so as not to attract wildlife. Barbecue equipment and tools that remain out of doors must be clean and free of residual food and grease. This is a common one here. A refrigerator, freezer, or storage container or similar appliance, device, or apparatus that contains wildlife attractants of any type must be kept indoors. So when we hear our reports from Bob Hansen with WildSafe BC, I'm often getting text messages of refrigerators and freezers being broken into that have attractants in them. One that people don't often think about, any grease, antifreeze, paint, or petroleum product is stored in such a manner that is inaccessible to wildlife. Bees and beehives are kept in a manner such as not to attract wildlife. Bees and beehives are kept in such a manner so they are reasonably inaccessible to wildlife. Beehives are enclosed by electric fencing designed and maintained in accordance with the electric fencing guidelines of the WildSafe BC program. Hens are kept in such a manner so as not to attract wildlife. Hens, coops, and pens are kept in such a manner that they are reasonably inaccessible to wildlife. Coops and pens are enclosed by electric fencing designed and maintained in accordance with the electric fencing guidelines of the WildSafe BC program. So many of these items as we go through where we say reasonably inaccessible, these are things that people have the opportunity to work with the WildSafe team and get lots of information. The electric fencing and that, it's a very supportive program. So nobody will be forced to go into these things blind. They do have a lot of support along the way. There's lots of information out there and people that are really willing to pitch in and help make sure that every bit of wildlife and people are taken care of here. Coops, I think I covered that one. Any home food delivery items that are left outdoors are stored in such a manner so as not to attract wildlife. And any animals kept on property are kept in such a manner not to attract wildlife. Livestock, same thing, reasonably inaccessible to wildlife. And livestock enclosures are enclosed by electric fencing designed and maintained in accordance with the WildSafe BC. So when we talk about enforcement tools, we do have a garbage and recycling bylaw currently that talks about the types of things that can be put out for collection. We don't currently have any fines associated with putting refuse out too early, leaving it out too late, or not maintaining things in the way they should be, and some of the new items that I've outlined here. So The tools that we have now, any person who contravenes or violates any portion of this bylaw, who fails or omits to do anything required under this bylaw, who permits, suffers, or allows any act or thing to be done or omitted to be done in contravention or violation of this bylaw, commits an offense. The important piece here too is, and where the offense is a continuing one, each day that offense is continued shall constitute a separate offense. So this really gives us the tools to actually enforce what we're saying here. So staff will also be amending the bylaw notice dispute and adjudication bylaw to include fines for all items within this bylaw at a rate of $200 per offense, which is right on par with several of the other communities, such as Squamish and Lillooet, that have very similar wildlife attractant bylaws in place already. Some of them are at 200, some of them are at 250 per offense. And when we talk about next steps and timelines, Tofino page is live as of right now. Folks can go onto the home page and click on Tofino, and there will be a wildlife attractant bylaw on there that has information from Bob Hansen and WildSafe BC's previous presentation. The PowerPoint that we've got here today will also likely be going up there, and more information will be added as we proceed through this process. So there's opportunity for people becoming more familiar with it, because it definitely is going to be a change to how we're doing things. The bylaw will be going out for legal review after any changes that may result from this conversation. And I do have on here that we're looking for first 3 readings planned for July 12th, but that's actually inaccurate. I believe this is going to be coming back to council for June 28th. And then adoption would then be on July 12th. So I had my dates a little bit mixed up there, but that's the plan as it is right now. So if there are any questions and comments, it's a lot to take in, but I will stop sharing my screen and hear from council.
Thank you. Questions for Chief Baker, and I just want to reiterate to council that we have a time crunch, so please keep your questions and your comments very succinct and concise if you have to make a comment. Over to you, Councillor Steer.
Great, thank you. I am signing off, but thank you, Chief Baker, for all the work on this, and I will give comment later. I'm chairing a meeting in about 2 minutes here. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Okay, further questions from council? Seeing none, I just have a quick, Councillor Chalmers and then Councillor Anderson. Go ahead. Oh, I saw your hand flip up. No, Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, just glad to see there's a bit of a communication strategy around it with Tofino, and I hope that we will continue to educate people year after year around the bylaw. Thanks.
I have one question, Chief Baker, and it's about petroleum products, storing gasoline for lawnmowers or whatever equipment. I understand. Is that covered? Like, are you saying gasoline should be then stored indoors, or I can't imagine that's a attractant for a bear or something like that.
I'm certainly not the expert in that. I take my cues from those that have done far more research than me. And so what I had listed there were recommendations. I don't think that gasoline necessarily itself is one of the bigger contributing factors. Certainly things like antifreeze, very sweet smelling, I know can be deadly to household pets for those reasons. So being stored indoors, not necessarily being stored in a garage or somewhere that is safe, probably a better idea either way, but yeah.
Okay, Councillor Anderson, you still have your hand up. Have you got another question or? No. Over to any other councillors? Councillor Thick.
Yeah, just to say I'm really glad for this, and also glad that you are suggesting fines be attached to it, because I don't think there's going to be compliance without that. So thank you for the work on this.
Any other comments or questions from council before we move on? No. Okay, thank you, Chief Baker. Look forward to seeing this in action, and we'll all have to clean up a little bit, I think. I was looking, is that my house he's taking a picture of? No, it wasn't.
No, it was not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Okay, moving on, we have Regional Housing Memorandum of Understanding. Report from Community Sustainability.
Thank you, Mayor Law. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. There is no report with this, or presentation with this report, so I'm available for any questions or comments.
Excellent. Thank you. Looking to Council for questions or comments on this. Councillor Thick.
Yeah, thank you for the report. I just noted that there was no section under financial impacts to the district, but in the course of the report, it speaks, and I'll just quote the three lines that stood out to me: a series of meetings we're continuing to meet, and that the District of Tofino would be the key driver. So I'm just curious as to what sort of impacts that this might have to our staff and financially to the district, because it seems like we would be the ones that would be coordinating, organizing, leading meetings, initiating meetings, according to what I read in the report. Maybe you could just clarify that for me. And I just see so many staff doing double duty, yourself included, and I just wonder how we can actually do this in a way that will be a good way, I think. So my question is more about the financial costs to the District of Tofino, noting from the report of the initiatives and the organization that we will have to, that we have agreed, or it seems like we've agreed to do.
Thank you, Councillor Thick. It's a great question. So we're not prepared, like, there is no work plan for us for this proposal at this point. We just wanted to basically develop a framework based on the housing needs assessment, so that if opportunities arose in the next year or so, we'd have a framework to work together on. If there were any significant staff implications or projects that may come with this, it would come to council for consideration, and probably through a budget process. Up to now, it's probably been an hour or two of my time over the last 6 months, just to sort of get it up and running and organizing it with Ian Scott. And so I don't expect it to be much more than that for the near future. But if it was something that, if it was looking like it might start growing into something significant, then we would definitely be coming back to council and looking for some direction around that. But at this point, we're not expecting it to be significant outside of our regular work, and housing has been identified as a priority of councils. And if we can find ways to work together to make things a little bit more affordable or be more successful in our grant programs, that's something we also want to keep our oar in the water.
Excellent, thank you. Any further comments or questions from council or Mr. Rogers? Seeing none, I'm excited about this. Actually, honestly, I'm very happy to see this, and I do hope it bears some fruit. We've got a good thing going with the Tofino Housing Corporation, and I think the region appreciates that, and I look forward to doing all we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Without further ado, then, would somebody like to read the recommendation? Councillor Chalmers.
I'll move that the Regional Housing Memorandum of Understanding attached as Appendix 1 to the June 2020-2022 Committee of the Whole Report titled Regional Housing Memorandum of Understanding be approved, and that the Mayor be authorized to execute the MOU on behalf of the District of Tofino.
Seconded by Councillor McMaster. Any further comments? All in favor? None opposed. Motion is carried. Then we're moving on. I see no unfinished business. And Ms. Best, do we have anybody signed up for question period?
Well, thank you, Mayor Law. Currently, we do not, but we do have members of the public in attendance. So if you are a member of the public wishing to submit a question to council regarding one of the items on this agenda, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So I will call once and seeing there's no questions, I'm calling a second time and calling thrice. And there have been no submissions for questions.
Okay, excellent. Then we're on to item 11, which is adjournment. And I will make the motion to adjourn. Seconded by Councillor Chalmers. Comments? None? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion's carried.